Hey everybody, today's video we're going to be looking at the PoE1 Marauder Ascendancies. We're going to be doing it as if you're a new player to PoE1, or if you're somebody coming from PoE2 and you're interested in trying out PoE1. We're going to be comparing a few of the Ascendancy nodes to nodes that actually do exist in PoE2, seeing which of these Ascendancies are the most similar to ones from PoE2, as well as just checking PoE Ninja, and going over what the popular builds are per Ascendancy choice. To start, let's take a look at Chieftain. Chieftain is a fire-based Ascendancy for the Marauder, and it has a few different builds that are pretty popular. To start, we're going to look at the fire damage over time nodes. Ramako Sun's Light just lowers fire resistance to nearby monsters when you're stationary, so this is more like boss killing in the end, but most builds that are going RF, so Righteous Fire, take this in conjunction with Hinakor Death's Fury. This is a chance, it's a small chance for you to explode, dealing a ton of life as damage when you kill your enemies. You can use this to create an incredibly strong singular ignite somewhere and then prolift that ignite all the way across the map. There are self-ignite builds. There are builds that just use Ignite as it is by itself, and we can look at that by pulling up the PoE Ninja. When we pull up PoE Ninja, we're going to be looking at the Mercenaries League for Path of Exile 1, and in here we can click on Chieftain, and I'm going to type in the nodes that we just discussed. So we got Sun's Light as well as Death's Fury. And as you can see, 94% of Chieftains right now are running Sun's Lights, and what that means is you're going to be seeing 94% of Chieftains running some form of Righteous Fire. If we filter and then click in, we're going to be able to see that there are tons of different versions of these builds. This is going to be a Firestorm build. There's Righteous Fire for sure. If we just click through, we can just see exactly what their highest damage nodes are. Fire Trap is really common when you run with Righteous Fire. But yeah, those two notables related to fire damage over time. If we look at Death's Fury, we're also going to be seeing 96% of Chieftains running this. So the popular setup for Chieftain right now is Righteous Fire. Now that we've looked at the two nodes that are super common for Righteous Fire, what else might you run as a Chieftain? And they dabble in Warcries as well as Slams. So Sun's Roar gives you some buff effect as well as infinite Warcry power, which is super nice. It makes your Warcries buffs consistent instead of having to worry about if you're in the middle of a group of mobs or near a rare or unique. And then War's Herald, which just takes your main skill gem if you put it in your body armor and supports it with an extra support. Fist of Wars for slams and Ancestral Call for strikes. But if we go back to PoE Ninja and take a look at how many Chieftains are actually using these two, it's going to be very low. Back on PoE Ninja, let's look at War's Herald. And 3% of the Chieftains at this point in the league are running it, so it's much lower. And then the Sun's Roar is going to be a 4%, so basically the slam or attack strike builds are way less common than the Righteous Fire builds at this point. When we're looking at War's Heralds and we click in who's actually running it, so you're going to be seeing a few Volcanic Fissures of Snaking. This is the common slam builds this league, and if you are going to be running those two slam-based notables and you're going the most meta slam, it makes sense. But again, only like 3% of Chieftains right now are rocking it. This might be something that I'm going to try this league. Most of the time I'm just doing slam builds. So Chieftain Consecrated Path is pretty fun, as well as Chieftain, if you want to go meta, just the Volcanic Fissure is Snaking, even though it got nerfed. Jumping back in, we'll take a look at a kind of niche Ascendancy. This is for some kind of strength stacking fire damage. It scales your strength based on where you put non-unique jewels on your tree, as well as turning all the damage in the radius into fire damage instead of whatever damage type it was before. It's pretty generic. If you are going for some kind of strength stacking builds, you might pick this up. But again, if we go back to PoE Ninja, we're going to see that it is not taken that often. Flames Advance is 2%, and actually let's click on in and just see what these guys are up to. Scrolling down, some kind of link build. We got some phase run. This looks like a full support almost. Maybe his Merc's doing most of the damage. You got a Frost Blades, we got Explosive Arrow, Smite. So this is an actual attack build that scales with spell power. I think we're strength stacking. Let's see how much strength we got. We got 2,000 strength. So again, if it's like a strength stacking notable, obviously it's going to make sense for strength stackers to pick it up, but super uncommon. 2% of builds. I'm saving the final two nodes for last because if you're familiar with PoE2 Warrior, you've already seen them. Cleansing Water. Modifiers to fire resistance also apply to cold and lightning at 50% of their value. This is seen in the Smith of Kitava in PoE2, but you also get the added benefit of being unaffected by ignites. This enables the self-ignite builds to be generated, so essentially you can use Death's Fury to do a shit ton of damage to a single enemy, somehow reflect that ignite back to yourself, and then since you're unaffected by it, but you still have it, you can run around and prolif it all the way across the map. But again, very strong notable. Leading into Storm's Embrace, which once again, if you're familiar with the Smith of Kitava, it's identical. Maximum fire res applies to maximum cold and lightning, so it makes gearing way easier. You only need to focus on maxing out your fire res, and then it applies to everything else. What that's going to look like on PoE Ninja is 100% of builds are taking Cleansing Water, and 98% of builds are taking Storm's Embrace. It is the core backbone of the Chieftain Ascendancy in PoE1, and it is incredibly strong in the same form in PoE2. So it's a no-brainer that most Chieftains are running this regardless of if they're the Slam build, the Attack build, the Strength Stacker, or Righteous Fire. You always want to take these two nodes just because of how strong they are defensively. Moving on down, we're now going to be taking a look at Berserker. When we're talking about PoE1 and PoE2, Berserker does not really exist in any form yet. I'm guessing that Berserker is going to come in the form of axe-based Ascendancy class. It's definitely going to come from the Marauder once they add it to PoE2. When we're talking about what Ascendancy points define the Berserker, Crave the Slaughter is really common. It is every rage also grants increased attack speed. Normally it's just 1% more damage. With this Ascendancy node, every single rage gives you more attack speed as well. The follow-up Rite of Ruin means that you have a degen on you where you lose health while you have rage, but it increases the rage effect. So in this case, if you have Crave the Slaughter, it's going to increase the effect of the more damage, the attack speed, and then in PoE1, there's also modifiers on the tree that you can get to add bonuses to those buffs. So Vengeance, every rage also grants 1% increased armor, as well as the Mastery node, which makes every rage also grant 1% increased stun threshold. This Ascendancy node, Rite of Ruin, also increases those buff effects as well. On PoE Ninja, we're going to reset filters and click into Berserker. We're going to take a look at the first node, Crave the Slaughter, and see how common that is. 99% of Berserkers are running it at this point in the league. It is one of the most defining notables in that tree. And then Rite of Ruin is going to be a little less common, partly because of the degen, partly because the rage effect isn't too crazy. Back to the Ascendancy, we're going to take a look at the other incredibly defining aspect of the Berserker, which is aspect of Carnage. You take 10% more damage, you just 10% increased damage taken, that's it, and you deal 40% more damage. This is iconic. If you're going to be playing a Berserker, you're going to want to try it at least once. You'll probably die more, but 40% more damage is insane. And when we're talking about how many people take it, only 75%. This is depending on if you want to go all out offensive. But again, this is iconic. This has been in PoE, I think, for like the longest time. The rage node's got to revamp at some point, but this one has stayed consistent throughout the history of the game. The rest of the nodes on the tree are pretty unique. So if we're going to be taking a look at Ancestral Fury, strike skills also target the previous location. If you're going any kind of strike builds, this is just an option for you. And I think it requires you to like move and hit. So not too many people enjoy the playstyle. I think that'll be reflected in PoE Ninja. I'm not really sure. On the flip side, you have Warbringer. So war cries exert twice as many attacks, most likely used for slam builds. There's niche applications for strike builds as well. But both of these nodes are, again, some quality of life for some kind of attack builds. Rounding it out with Defy Pain, the only defensive notable for Berserker. It is essentially a Defiance of Destiny, the unique amulet, just applied in a different way. And it actually has maybe some, theory crafting around going hybrid with evasion, so you're not always getting hit and losing all the stacks. But when we look at PoE Ninja, these are not going to be as common as the other 3 nodes we looked at. So if we look at Warbringer, 85% of people playing Berserker are playing Warbringer. And if we click in and we see why, it's because Volcanic Fissure of Snaking is super meta. And this is the quality of life node that allows you to attack very quickly and keep exerting every single hit. When we look at Ancestral Fury, we're looking at 10%. And if we jump on in, it's going to be a Flicker Strike setup, it looks like. Which is technically a strike skill, and it does make sense that this one is what you use, because I assume that when you move, maybe it procs where you last were, instead of having to manually walk and use your strike. The final node being Defy Pain, 34%, so it looks like it got a real bump. In Mercenaries, it actually got buffed. It's the first time it's really been used in any sort of way, so 30% of builds are trying it out. And you can see it's just all across the board, but a good amount of the slam builds are using it. And once again, I saved not the best for last, but just the most similar one to a notable in PoE2, actually. So we have Gore Dancer as the final notable after Aspect of Carnage. Gore Dancer makes 30% of Life Leech instant. We have seen this as a notable on the passive tree in PoE2, where it is 20% of Life Leech is instant. And you can kind of get this thing going on where they did a different design, where in PoE1 certain things were Ascendancy notables, and they just took them and ripped them off and put them on the passive tree. So it's pretty interesting. But Gore Dancer, because it's behind Aspect of Carnage, it's just, you already have too many good options. So if we pull up PoE Ninja, we're going to see not too many builds are taking it. In the final Ascendancy, Gore Dancer is only at a 7% at the moment. It's something you can mess around with if you've never tried Instant Leech before, but the Berserker Ascendancy has just so many good options when it comes to slam builds, attack builds, that not too many people are feeling the need to take it. The final Ascendancy we're going to talk about is Juggernaut. Juggernaut is a traditionally very, very tanky Ascendancy, with one of the notables sort of targeting different type of offensive builds, and we can start there. Undeniable is an accuracy stacking enabler. So basically you get attack speed per accuracy, and then your accuracy is equal to twice your strength. Or you gain accuracy equal to twice your strength, meaning it is a stat stacker build enabler as well. But most of the other Ascendancy nodes here are defensive. So when we're looking at Undeniable, we're going to be seeing specifically accuracy and strength stacking builds taking it. More iconic is Unstoppable. You have more move speed, you cannot be stunned, and your speed cannot be reduced below base. It is an insane quality of life notable. If you've never played with this, it just makes so many mechanics in the game that are headaches so much easier to play. In the middle here, we're going to be looking at Unflinching, which is an endurance charge notable, mostly for endurance charge stacking. And endurance charges in PoE1 work very differently than PoE2. They come with an innate physical damage and elemental damage reduction tied to them. So just even having them on your character is a good defensive layer. Unflinching initially is going to give you access to obtaining them, as well as just giving you one max charge. Unrelenting makes it so that they actually have more damage reduction, both physical and elemental on them. And Unyielding just gives you more damage in area of effect per charge you have. So pulling up POB, do a reset. We're going to click on Juggernaut. And then we're going to take a look at Undeniable first. Undeniable is used by 85% of Juggernauts at this point in the league. And if we click in, we're going to be seeing a very common strike build. It is Molten Strike of Zenith. It's going to be a elemental, or in this case, Chaos. There are 2 versions. The Chaos uses replica Alberons. But again, very strength heavy stacking. This guy's got 2,000 strength. that strength becomes accuracy, and the accuracy becomes attack speed. When we're looking at unstoppable, 84% of Juggernauts are using it. It is just incredible quality of life. With the endurance charge setup starting on unflinching, 97% of Juggernauts are running it. It is for that +1 maximum endurance charge. Just by default, it's really strong. Almost every single build can use it. Meanwhile, Unrelenting, I think, is going to be the next most common take. 60%, not too bad, versus Unyielding, which is going to be really low. The value of Unyielding is only increased damage, so it isn't anything too crazy. Most commonly, just most people skip that node. And once again, the final two notables I saved are, again, can be found in PoE2 in some way. So we're going to take a look at Unbreakable. Armor from equipped body armor is doubled, as well as 15% of armor applies to chaos damage taken from hits. Part of that is similar to the Smith of Kitava's 100% of armor applies to chaos damage, and then the other part is similar to the Titan's 80% increased armor from your body armor. So in PoE2, they took this and kind of split it up, but the concept remains the same. Use a piece of body armor that has a shit ton of armor on it, or a ton of evasion, and convert it to armor. And then from there, you are really strong when it comes to taking hits from Fizz as well as Chaos. The other notable that you're going to see in some way in the PoE2 passive tree is Untiring. And at the end of this video, I will pull up the common notables between the classes, and we can just kind of compare and contrast the different power levels as well as the different mechanics and how they work. Untiring increases your life regen. It takes your physical damage prevented over the past 10 seconds and gives it to you back as life regeneration. This is an incredibly strong notable for builds that self-hit. And when we pull up PoE Ninja, we are probably going to see a lot of Boneshatter builds using this. The equivalent in PoE2 is implemented in a different way. It isn't implemented as life regen, it is implemented as life recoup, but it is at a much higher value. When we look at who is taking what, Unbreakable is taken by about 40% of anybody running Jug. Really depends on what you want to go for, if you really care about armor, if you really care about chaos damage taken, as well as Untiring, which is taken by about 19% of builds. And if we click in here, we can see why. So does Boneshatter of Complex Trauma, which is going to be most likely to take this node. You are seeing some of the Molten Strike of Zenith players taking it. But when it comes to Untiring's like most likely use case, it's in order to get a bunch of life regen after hitting yourself a bunch of times in the head when you're using Boneshatter. So that's going to do it for the PoE1 Ascendancy Explainer. Again, really high level. You can take a look at PoE Ninja builds yourself if you're interested at all, but now we're going to hop over to PoE2. We're now taking a look at the PoE2 passive tree, and what I wanted to talk about is the notables that are similar to the ones that we just looked at in PoE1. So here we have Voracious. 20% of Leech is instant. This was Gore Dancer in PoE1, and it is an Ascendancy that is locked behind another really strong Ascendancy. In PoE2, you can just get it on the tree for free. It's in a kind of weird spot. The only pathing that would really take this, if you're a warrior, is going like a hybrid kind of setup, or you have to just spend a few more pathing points to go up from the normal pathing. If we're looking still on the passive tree, we can come down here to Made to Last. So this is similar to Untiring. 25% of physical damage prevented is recouped as life. Again, there's not a lot of self-hit yet in PoE2, but there is a way for you to make blocked hits always give a percentage of like the hit damage to you, meaning that you're taking a bunch of fizz always, even when you're blocking. And over time, if you're getting hit a bunch, it can stack up and your recoup can actually get pretty crazy with this node, most likely taken by Warbringers. If we're actually looking at the Ascendancies, so Coal Stoker and Forged in Flame were ripped 1-to-1. They liked the playstyle enough for the Chieftain, and they just added it straight up to the Smith of Kitava. When we're talking about body armor applies, armor to chaos damage. That is also tied to the Smith's masterwork, just body armor setup for Smith of Kitava. I believe in here there's also unaffected by Ignite. So if you take heat proofing, maybe in the future there's going to be some kind of Ignite Pro Lift setup, but I haven't seen it too much in PoE2. And then to wrap it all up, we're going to come down and take a look at the stone skin. So I was wrong. It's not 80% more. It's only 50% more. But the PoE1 notable is just double armor. This is only, 1.5. But again, you see equivalents kind of going on from 1 and 2. They took what they learned, they tried to apply it in certain ways. But at the moment, I think the warrior class was supposed to be more unique, given that they are going to add the Marauder into PoE2 eventually. It is interesting that the overlap in the Smith, in the Chieftain already exists, so maybe we're not going to see the Chieftain Ascendancy as we know it from PoE1. We might get something more unique. I don't know if it'll be more totem heavy, who knows. But yeah, that's going to do it. We're doing this video because PoE1 is coming out with a new league starting today. I'm going to be streaming it, and we're going to be running, I think, a Chieftain builds. Most of the time I do slams, and I always do Marauder. So if you're interested, tune in. Again, leave any comments. I think we got a lot of subscribers and people who watch the channel that are either new to PoE2, new to PoE1, or they just play a bunch of different ARPGs. But most of my experience is in PoE1 and PoE2, and I've been enjoying PoE2 a lot lately. But when it comes to a new PoE1 launch, you really can't beat that. So we're hopping in. If you like the content, like, subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next one.